Hey, what's going on? Listen, today I'm about to talk to you guys really quickly about something that's happening right now, which I feel like needs to be addressed, which is the Kanye West situation. Now, I know everybody else has takes on this. Several people have made videos about it. I'm going to go ahead and steer us out of this because it seems like we're falling in some mire that we just can't afford to do right now. So, the reason why this thing with Kanye West wearing that shirt with Candace Owens is so problematic is because, one, it basically boils down to a signal to white America. He's signal boosting our opposition because we obviously know that all lives matter is a phrase that was made in opposition, and white lives matter was a phrase that was literally worn by white nationalists and people who really cozied up to them, like Lauren Southern and other outspoken white nationalists. And the other big problem with this whole situation and then his subsequent interview with Tucker Carlson is that this really boils down to a Trump endorsement. And I feel like as black people, we've fallen too much for the okie doke, and this is not something that we can continue to do. We can't allow the person who says a few things that we like, hey, they're trying to destroy black people. Neither Republican or Democratic Party is working for us. Yes, he made both of those statements, and they sound really, really good. But at the same time, he's galvanizing our opposition. So right now, at the forefront of what we're asking for are reparations for slavery, Jim Crow, and other crimes against slaves and freedmen that are still ongoing right now. And politicians are really, really good at saying just a few things that they know that we like while doing absolutely nothing for us and kind of stringing us along. One of the best examples of this is Kamala Harris. When directly asked about reparations for black people, she rattles off a list of all of the atrocities that have happened to black people. But then once again, thankfully, the person holds her to task and says, hey, I'm still asking a question because you're not answering it. And then she point blank says, and I'll just play it for you so you can understand exactly what she says and why this is problematic.
Do you support reparations for black people?
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination and segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act.
Notice, by the way, that literally none of what she just said is an answer to the question, right? She's just rattling off talking points, saying things that we all know to be true that obviously mean that we should get reparations, but literally not answering the question.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
Now, in the same way, Joe Biden has done the exact same thing where he says, I'll have your back in this video.
The African American community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours.
And then does literally nothing for us. So you might be one of those people who fell for the okie doke and might say something like, well, he passed his student loan stuff. The student loan program isn't actually there to help black people. To the contrary, it's going to help white people more. Let me just rattle off a few things really quick. I'm going to do an entire separate video on student loan stuff if you guys ask me to. But anyway, look, most of the student loan debt for whites is less than $25,000. But most black borrowers have on average $52,000 in student loan debt. Pell Grant recipients receive $20,000 in student debt forgiveness. There are more white Pell Grant recipients than black ones. So that means if those Pell Grant recipients who are white, who have on average less than $25,000 in student loan debt, or to get $20,000 wiped out, that leaves them with $5,000 student loan debt, which makes student loan debt significantly less of a problem, something they could pay off really, really quickly. Whereas with black people, to forgive them $20,000 leaves them still with $32,000 in student loan debt. Now you might say, hey, $20,000 is still a lot of money and it's still a good thing. Sure, and there's no denying that. But think about this for a second. If student loan debt is a crippling problem such that we need to create something to forgive it, and we're saying that we're going to forgive just enough that white borrowers can have the majority and sometimes all of their student loan debt forgiven, but then it'll still leave black people with on average $32,000 in student loan debt, then it sounds like you just fixed the problem for white people and not for black people, which is even worse because now you're widening the wealth gap. But I'm not making a whole video on the student loan debt forgiveness program. Another thing that he did, the first day that he got into office, after saying that he would have our back, so as soon as he comes into office, the very first thing he does is he signs some executive orders. Remember, he said he was going to have black people's back, right? Let's see how much of our back he had and how much of other people's back he actually had. Day one, signs a thing that said it's going to preserve and fortify protection for dreamers. That's for our anti-black Hispanic people who voted for him in large numbers, presumably, right? Reserve the Muslim ban. Deferred enforced departure for Liberians. Preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. So the only time he mentioned black people, he mentioned blacks twice in that thing. And each time it was blacks, brown, Hispanic, Latinos, so on and so forth. And one of them was for COVID, talking about how it disproportionately affected us all. COVID did disproportionately affect us all, but its disproportionate effects were largest to black people. But he won't mention that. He'll just say all people of color, all indigenous people, Asians aren't dealing with that problem in the same way that black people were in this country, but that's a whole nother thing. So the thing, back to the Kanye situation, the thing that's so problematic about that is while Kanye West does say some things that truly need to be said, he did mention Dr. Claude Anderson. He did actually mention the fact that the Democratic Party is not working in our best interest and that the Republican Party is trying its best to destroy us. He did mention those things. He did mention like the need for some sort of like rectification for some of the injuries that have happened to black Americans in this country. The problem comes that a little leaven leavens the whole lump. Now I tried to have a conversation with Lucas, with the amazing Lucas. That dude immediately went on some nonsense. I was trying to address his video in which he said, you know, basically, actually I'll just play a little excerpt of that.
Ye is absolutely correct.
After he made those statements, I was like, yo, this is really problematic. And I'll explain why it's so problematic in just a second. So I go into his stream and I try to have a conversation with him. He hit me with the most insane, ridiculous, buck-breaking energy out of freaking nowhere.
If that's what you do, then that's what you do.
This is
all
silly
right?
and it's beneath me and it's beneath
But
me,
nigga,
bro.
you are not trying to seduce me, okay?
Nigga, what are you talking about seduction?
I'm not going to fuck you.
What are you
All
talking
right, nigga?
Bro,
I'm not
yeah,
gay.
Yo, you on some gay
That's
stuff. I
one.
gotta go.
Which really did show his true colors. I don't think that's a nigga that's for us, but I'll do an entire separate video on that. Anyway, so he did that after endorsing this Kanye West video. Secondly, another person who did a video that was somewhat saying that we, you know, kind of owe Kanye West apology is somebody who I respect greatly, TD Hip Hop Media. And I think his video does have a little bit more nuance. It makes a little bit more sense, but even still, we need to be crystal clear. We have to be crystal clear in these scenarios. We have made more progress on the discussion of reparations now than we probably have in the last 20 years. And right now it's time to be very critical of who we're willing to deal with. The reason why this Kanye West thing is such a problem right now is because Trump is right now doing his rallies, and at his most recent rally, let's look at something that was said by someone before Trump got on there.
Some people say, well, they're soft on crime. No, they're not soft on crime. They're pro-crime. They want crime. They want crime because they want to take over what you got. They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. Bullshit. They are not owed that.
So when you have people making statements like that are very, very consciously, verbally, objectively opposed towards reparations, then at that point, that's someone that we can't align with. And when Kanye West is saying on multiple occasions that one,
No, I'm standing in that spot. I love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here. Yeah, him here.
That's really nice.
that one, he likes Trump. On another time, he said he loves Trump. Other times, he's worn the MAGA hat. Trump has specifically stated to Kanye, as he recently explained, that Kanye West visiting him at the White House and wearing that MAGA hat and endorsing him in that way approved his black ratings.
even Trump, a person that's, we'd consider to be a friend of mine. And one of the things he said to me is, Kanye, you're my friend. When you came to the White House, my black approval rating went up 40%. For politicians, all black people are worth is an approval rating.
Now, when the person who we're approving is currently, as of less than a month ago, holding rallies in which people are opposed to reparations, then that's somebody that we can't stand behind. So while Kanye West might say some true things, that little leaven leavens the whole lump. We cannot allow that kind of nonsense. Furthermore, any person trying to make the idea that, well, he's really only wearing these shirts because he wants to, he's mocking. That's what they were trying to say. He's mocking white Americans by saying this. He's not mocking white Americans. In order to be mocking white Americans, then he wouldn't be wearing a shirt with Candace Owens. Because even if Kanye had the intentions of mocking white Americans with this shirt, then that would mean that he's not in agreement with Candace Owens. You and I both know nobody's more opposed to reparations for Black America than Candace Owens. She's stated so on countless times. I don't need to post a video for that. So then that means that he's wearing a shirt aligning with another person who is absolutely opposed to Black American progress as a whole and is literally signal boosting anti-reparations messaging while simultaneously saying, yeah, no, but I'm pro-Black. I want Black ownership. You want Black ownership, but you don't want reparations. You don't want economic justice that would lead to more Black ownership. So then at this point, we cannot have mixed signals in that way. The reason why Kamala Harris is trash is because she knows all the talking points to say the things that are positive for us, such as, Black people have suffered this and da-da-da-da-da, while claiming to be Black, lying about celebrating Kwanzaa. So she can do those kinds of things while simultaneously doing everything in her power that is anti-Black from her time as a district attorney until now. Look for the times where she's actually doing or trying to argue for anything directly positive for Black people. It doesn't exist. So when you have those kinds of people working together, endorsing people like Trump, saying things that are anti-reparations, those are problematic for us. So ultimately, it's our job to make sure that we cut through the nonsense, that we make things crystal clear. We cannot have wishy-washy people that we're endorsing or justifying because they said a few things that we need to be said. Absolutely not. That'll do it for this one. I hope you guys can like, comment, subscribe. I will be doing another video really soon, expounding on the anti-Black racism coming from Hispanic Americans, even within the state of California right now with leaked audio that just came out. It's just ridiculous. So you guys saw in my previous video, I think I have to expound on that with this new information, which makes it crystal clear. This isn't just historical anti-Black racism. It is current, it is ongoing. Until they do something to stand against it, there will never be a coalition. There never has been. I don't know that there ever will be. It's possible, but there has to be very outspoken from the Latin American community, distancing from the racism that has been coming from political leaders and people of power inside of their circles. Anyway, please like, comment, share this video if it means anything to you, and check me out on the next one. Peace.